Here we are back in the hot seat, and today we're talking a little bit about the difference between an open house versus private showings. So when a buyer comes to us, they have an array of different options, and I prefer to do my showings with my clients just so that I can gather as much information as possible. But there is an opportunity for buyers to go looking on their own or to go looking without an agent at all. And they can do that through open houses, which Sarah and I both host and we attend. And so there is a difference in what you can gain from both scenarios. And today we're going to kind of break that down.
Yeah, I think the most common thing people know about seeing homes is an open house because it's sort of like low barrier to entry. You see an open house sign, you can go kind of window shopping and you can look at a house. We get a whole slew of clients or potential clients when we host open houses. You've got people who are, just looking. You've got people who just started their journey, don't have an agent. We have people who come with their agents because they want kind of the backside information that the agent has, access to. And then you get the people who have agents and go to open houses and maybe told their agent or didn't tell their agent or arranged it, let their agent know like, hey, I'm going to check out this open house. What information can you give me? I think open houses can be a really great way to see a home, especially because kind of an indicator of the market can be how many people are in the open house. If it's a packed open house, it can be a pretty good indicator that the market is heating up. And if that's something you want to gauge as a consumer, great. That's an awesome way to see. It doesn't necessarily mean that the house is going to get 1 million offers. I would say going with an agent.
I think open houses are really good just for gathering information.
Yeah,
I think
it's surface level. It's not as deep.
It's surface level. Here's what I think. Open houses are really a way to pique interest in buyers who are kind of on the precipice as to whether or not they're interested in either selling their current residence. Like, I see my neighbor's house is on the market, so I'm going to pop by and see kind of what the quality of their home is so that I know if I wanted to put my house on the market, okay, maybe I might be comparable or perhaps I would be above or below whatever they are listed at. I don't necessarily love to bring my clients through open houses, and
it's not my favorite. If it just times out in your day and your tour and like that's the time that you can go, sure.
Right, because here's why. I think that all of the data and information that we collect in an open house can be very overwhelming to folks who have not been hosting open houses like we have every single weekend, because all of a sudden now this process of kind of determining what your wants and needs are so mixed up with kind of what everybody else's wants and needs are. You might hear something in an open house that you wouldn't have heard in a private showing that's going to skew the way you look at this home or your opinion of that home. So what agents really want to do is they want to make you feel like you have to write an offer today. And whoever
the agents who are hosting the open, you mean?
Sure, yes. Whoever is trying to sell this house, they want you to feel a sense of urgency.
Correct, yeah.
The agent who is sitting at the open house may or may not be that listing agent. Typically, they're not.
And I think that is also a common misconception because most consumers go to an open house and they assume the person hosting is the listing agent.
Right.
So it's very important as agents that we communicate to the people in the open house if it is or is not our listing.
Right. That's one of the first things I would say. Hey, my name is Emily. This is my listing or this is not my listing. If it's not my listing, I can give you kind of my unsolicited advice if you like it, if that's something you're interested in. These are some of the things that I thought of that might need to be corrected prior to closing.
Yeah.
And if it is my listing, these are kind of the wants and needs of my sellers if it's something that you're interested in writing an offer on. But as a seller's agent, we have a fiduciary responsibility to our clients to ensure that we get the best price point. So having that sense of urgency makes everybody feel like, oh my gosh, this is the one. You're being manipulated. You're being manipulated in an open house, I think. So unless you go into it with the mindset of, I'm going to collect data. I'm going to see how many people are interested in the same kind of house as I am. I'm going to see what are they looking for. Is it the layout? Is it the location? Is it the school district? I'm going to see, is the open house even well attended? If not, perhaps this one is overpriced. Those are all some of the ways in which I kind of guide my clients to focus in on the data and not so much the emotions, because it's an emotional roller coaster ride to be in an open house.
See people looking at the same product that you like, and there's only one of that thing that you're in, and if somebody else wants it, you all of a sudden feel like, I gotta make a move on this house. I would say what the times that I have been like, yeah, go for it to open houses with my clients are after we've already had a private showing, and they're like, you know, maybe it adds an open house, and I'm like, hey, just so you know, there's another open house tomorrow. And my clients sometimes will just be like, actually, I'm gonna pop by just to look at it again.
Yeah.
After they've already had a showing with me. I would say also another upside to private showings, I mean, it's always just a better route to go, but another upside is you can speak a little bit more freely about how you feel about the home and observations that you find that you're maybe not wanting to just broadcast to everybody walking around, because, you know, we're looking at it we're scrutinizing it from every angle, and we have more information on the backside that we're sharing with you as we walk around, and I feel like you get a chance to be a little bit more objective when you're looking at it.
Absolutely. I think too that there are a lot of folks that really struggle with managing how to speak about what it is that they want when they're around somebody who's not a trusted individual. So it might be that the agent in the house is like, oh my gosh, look at the landscaping of this property. It is meticulous. And they'll go into so much information about this one item in regards to the house, but I can tell my clients are either not interested in that or it wasn't on their bucket list. And so all of a sudden they're like, they might have really liked this house if that agent could have learned to shut up, right? Like, if they didn't have so much information. And that's the problem with the open house, is that it is like you're getting this ice bucket of information that will sway how you feel, and you walk out and you're like, I don't even know who I am anymore.
Yeah, you might get an agent who's like, you know, following you around a little bit to like kind of keep engaging with you. Maybe
make sure you check out every single silent talker.
Yes. Now, here's how I will advocate for open houses. If you are someone whom you don't have a connection with an agent and you haven't reached out to one of us first. You don't have any connection with an agent, maybe you've just started, an open house can actually be a very great way to meet an agent for multiple reasons. Maybe you kind of just vibe with that person right off the bat. That person's speaking your language. They're asking you the right questions that trigger the right responses as you as an individual. That's how I got some of my very first clients in the business. That's how a lot of agents start out, is hosting open houses.
Researching.
Yeah. Open house is going to be a fantastic way to start that relationship with an agent that you might not have otherwise, you know, you didn't pick up a phone and just randomly cold call an agent because that's weird for you. Go to open houses and kind of like, that's a little interview session with the agent.
But be ready for agents to hit on you.
Yeah, they're trying to sell a product too.
Yeah, they want to make this connection. Mm-hmm. This is a blind date, right? You're doing, so again, I would encourage my buyers who are going to open houses, if this is your first foray into shopping for a house, do it as a research experiment, right? Is this agent saying stuff that I like? Do they have the information that I've asked for? How many people are there? What is the condition of the home? Where is it located? All of those pieces can be gathered in an open house. What about private showings though?
Private showings are vastly different. One, because you can set up multiple homes in a day. Say we're gonna go out on a Saturday, my clients have 5 homes they wanna see, great. We can set up a private tour to schedule it based on, you know, the route that we wanna take that makes the most sense and how much time I think my clients are gonna need at each home. And we can book that time aside. So you get basically, let's say 45 minutes, maybe that's about an average amount of time, 45 minutes in a home with just you, your agent, all the information that the agent has. A good agent's probably already spoken to the listing agent and gotten any update or data or information about traffic in the property.
Can I pause here for a second? So the only way to get a private showing, though,
I'm pointing at Emily because this is an important thing she's going to say,
is to have an agent.
Is to have an agent.
You guys. And if you don't have an agent, either Zillow or Redfin is going to assign you an agent. And you might not have a contract with them, but they are in the process of trying to create a relationship with you because they've spent a ton of money to market themselves on Redfin and Zillow. I've done it. Sarah's done it. It's super expensive. A lot of the times, folks that meet with us don't really understand that you need to have an exclusive agreement if you want to continue to have private showings. If you're not there yet, keep going to the open houses, keep collecting the research, but don't continue to go to Zillow and Redfin because they will keep plugging you in with the same exact human in the hopes that this is a lead that this agent is going to be able to capture. So my advice to you is if you don't want to be auto-assigned to somebody, then go to open houses to collect that research, find somebody who you align with, and start going on private tours with them.
Yeah. You get, once you are on these private showings, it's really a very different way to see a home. You don't have the distraction of having other people in there. You don't have the pressure of having other people in there. You've got a set amount of time that you can look around. If you're doing multiple showings in a day, you have data to compare homes back to back, which can be super helpful. Go from one home to the next and be able to actually compare two products against each other. And your agent, like I said, is going to have more information about the home than you're going to have just walking around by yourself at an open house. Because if you are somebody who doesn't want the person hosting the open house to be following you around while you're doing the open, you're just going to simply be observing with your eyes and ears if other people are talking.
Yeah.
But like when we show you a home, we're going to have the back information, anything that's been uploaded to the MLS, any additional property information. We will have already reviewed that. If there's an inspection that we can take a look at, we've probably already sent it to you and you've already looked through that. You step into the home already having so much more knowledge about the home before you've even seen it.
And I would say as an agent, when I walk through a house, my job is not to point out the best features. I don't really want to sell you on a house. I want you to sell me on the idea of why that's the best house for you, because it's not within my best interest to have you in a home that doesn't make you happy for the next 10 to 30 years. That's not good business. I want to make sure that all of those emotional manipulations that they're doing with the staging and the paint and the silent talkers that distract you away from some key elements, that is where I want to focus my attention is, hey, yes, the staging is gorgeous. That's going to be gone when you move in.
It's not your furniture.
It's not your furniture.
It's probably not the seller's taste either.
Yeah.
Somebody came in and gave it a nice clean overall wash so that it looks very, not generic, but it looks very not personal. You can imagine your own life in there.
A hotel room, right?
Yeah.
So once that's all gone, what about the floors? Are they in good condition? What about the furnace? How old is that? What about the roof? Oh, the roof is one of those things I check out all the time. Or is there elements of it that maybe in your rush to find something that was really, really perfect for you, you kind of overlooked? So as an agent, I'm kind of walking around and saying, hey, yes, I'd love this kitchen. However, did you notice that they have 3 back doors? Do you need 3 back doors? That's something, nobody asked me that. Nobody asked me that when I bought my house, and I don't need 3 back doors.
Yeah.
Somebody should have asked me that, and we could have maximized our kitchen space, but I love the house. I love the house. So there are things that as a homeowner that I've noticed are kind of sticking points. They're hard to deal with. So these are some of the scenarios that I like to kind of run through with my clients is, hey, did you know that this is a flat roof? There are some issues that come up with flat roofs. There are only certain products that you can put on them. This is how you clean them. Do you know about that? Just so that they are walking into writing an offer with their eyes wide open.
And it's so good to have that information before you even step inside the home, because then you're not immediately blinded by your emotional response. You can go into it a little more like even keeled, because you are approaching it as, okay, this house has this, that, and the other, and this one thing I know of that might be an issue. So I have that lens as I'm going into this house. I have a more realistic look, as opposed to just walking in with no information and be like, wow, it's gorgeous. And then you find out, this needs to be fixed, this needs to be updated, and this is how much your HOA dues are, or whatever. Just having that information before you go in the home. Another thing before you even go in the home, and this might not even be something that you can really achieve at an open house, because the agent hosting is probably going to be staying inside where there are clients, is the outside of the house. So when you're on a private tour with us, before we even walk in the house, we're going to tell you what kind of siding it is, how the roof might look, if the gutters are in good condition, if they're pouring away from the house, maybe if there's any overgrown vegetation, or, oh look, that looks like the driveway was patched and dug up at one point. Maybe they had a sewer repair. These are observations that we're going to help you see before we even walk inside the house. At an open house, I would say generally, you're probably just going to walk inside and you're going to get some information outside, or inside, and maybe you'll just see the backyard, tour it yourself. But it's a wealth of knowledge when you get to go with an actual agent to the home.
Yeah, it's kind of like you have your own little AI, right? Like next to you, or computer of information. Also, what I would say for me as an agent is it's so valuable to know what a client likes but also dislikes, because
that's as important. It's equally as important, because we can even set your search for that. There's a lot of individual things we can set a search for when we're actually looking for homes for our clients. Like, you don't want to look at a tri-level? Okay, we won't show you one. You only want one story? Great, we can set a search for that. I've had many clients who have told me the things that they don't like, because I always ask that question, and sure enough, they'll send me a home, and I'll be like, hey, it has these 3 things you said you didn't like, and they're like, oh, I didn't even notice that. Thanks for pointing that out. Yeah, I don't want to see this home.
Yeah.
And then they didn't waste their time going to an open house or going to even making a showing to go see it when those 3 things were non-negotiables for them.
I also want to point out one other thing. Agents aren't paid for each individual tour that they give.
Or for hosting an open house.
Right.
Let's just say that.
So I think that for some clients, their concern is, I don't want to set up my buyer agency agreement yet, because I don't want to have to pay for all these tours or feel obligated. And the truth of the matter is, whatever commission we determine in our buyer agency agreement with the buyer themselves, that is paid out at closing. So let's say that you decide to go tour homes for a year. This has happened to me. Go tour homes for a year, and then you decide, hey, turns out I want to move to Kentucky. I don't want to live in Washington, it's too expensive. They don't owe you anything, and that's okay, because I know that at some point perhaps this person's going to come back to Washington once they've kind of accumulated more equity,
or send you a friend,
or
send you a referral that needs help.
It
comes around again. Yeah,
it's never lost time in our eyes. That's not the way that we have learned to organize our business. So if that is a concern of yours, I want you to just kind of eliminate that and tell yourself, hey, that is not a real thing. That's not, you are in no way obligated to purchase just because you established this buyer agency agreement.
Yeah, that agreement is just in place to say, hey, we're both committed to each other to work together, and should I purchase a home, this is the agreed upon amount of commission that you will have earned for all the work that you've done, and that's when you as the buyer buy a home. I would say, what do you think is the most common phrase I'm going to say that people say to you at open houses? If you ask if they have an agent and they say yes. They say, oh, I didn't want to bother them.
I didn't want
to bother them.
Which to me
I would say is
astounding.
If your agent is bothered that you are reaching out to them to show them a house, that is probably not the agent for you. I understand if you and your agent have this sort of like relationship where you like to go to open houses and you let them know, and you go to that open house and you tell the person hosting,
maybe
like, hey, I have an agent. This is my agent's name. Yeah. You know, that's a really good way to also prove you have an agent, is if you know their name and where they work. Because a lot of people go to open houses and say they have one and then make something up, which is, we can always tell. But you're not bothering your agent if you are asking them to help you look at homes. That is literally their job. So just know that if you ever think you're quote unquote wasting your agent's time because you are asking to go see a house and a private showing with them, that is their job, and they actually probably would prefer you doing that than being like, hey, I went to an open house, I want to write an offer, and you're like, oh, I don't know which house, I haven't seen it for myself, so I probably should now get my butt over there to go see it and get all the information that I need now. They'd probably just like to be there with you.
Yes.
On the journey.
I will say there are some clients that I've met at open houses who have only purchased homes by viewing open houses. And they have an agent who they are paying a commission to with their buyer agency agreement. And my question to you is, why are you doing so much work?
Yeah.
Why are you doing all of that work? Why wouldn't you let somebody else help you to get into the home that really meets your needs? Because I think that there are some companies and agencies that do get really busy. They have a high turnover of clients. It just means that they've spent a lot of money on marketing. It doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get the best offer or that your offer is going to get accepted just because of who their name is.
Yeah. I would say moral of the story is open houses are a fantastic way to just gather information, get your little tushy in the door. Could possibly be a great way to meet an agent if you truly have no connections and you haven't reached out to one of us. But private showings are just a more intimate way to
It's a cut above.
It's a cut above.
It's a cut
It's also a way
above.
to just separate the emotional aspect of purchasing a home and really just get the finer details and look at it as the sort of business transaction it is, because it truly is. And having somebody there to help guide you through that, and also we aren't working from an emotional state, right? We're sort of therapists for our clients at times, but we aren't approaching it from an emotional state, and having somebody there with you can be very helpful.
Yeah, we aren't going to tell you what our likes are or what our hates are. That's not what we're here to do. We're here to listen. We're here to make sure that you know what the safety issues are and what concerns that might arise in the coming years, and to make you just feel really good about the process.
Yeah.
So if that's something that you're looking for, you always know where to contact us. Contact information is linked below, and thanks again for following along on our little journey.